Hi, I'm Dr. Hava Rose. When was the last time you felt both empowered and at peace? How often do you find yourself struggling to find your own voice, your own expression, your own quote-unquote control, and also feel at ease with everything around you? Is that something that you often are feeling like you can't find, but you're often grasping for? And if so, what are you doing in the meantime while you're grappling to find your own power in this world while also trying to find your own peace? I have the solution. It might not be astronomical, but it's something that I believe each and every one of us can access. And the most impactful way to simultaneously claim your power and your peace is the simple act of presence. Throughout the duration of these conversations that have been so beautiful through the pause effect, the common denominator throughout all of them is that at some point each of us have felt disempowered or in the chaos. And there's a moment within each of our journey that maybe we're able to find the simultaneous act of claiming both our power and our peace. But it takes trial and error, it takes resilience, and it takes the opportunity and the calling in of claiming those and wanting those in our life. What often happens in our world, and as busy as this world is that we are either in future or in the past. And when we're thinking in the future and future planning and trying to line up all of our ducks in a row, we automatically are putting ourselves at risk of anxiety. Planning for things that might not turn out the way we expect, creating expectations that might not ever come to fruition, and ultimately keeping us in our mind in a plan. The other side of it is the past thinking, is the rumination of what already has passed and already has happened, and thinking, what if it happened differently? What if I said something different? And this puts us in an energy of regret. Not to say all of these translate exactly as that, but we often are operating either extreme. Future thinking, bringing us in anxiety, or past thinking, bringing us into regret. And we're missing the most accessible place for us to both claim our power and peace, and that is being in the middle, in the presence. What happens when we finally claim our present moment? Well, you'd be surprised how magical and how exhilarating it can be for both yourself and the people around you. If we continue in the cycles of future thinking and past rumination, we keep ourselves in a very disempowered and dysregulated space, which make it near impossible to create and cultivate peace in our life and to own and claim our own power and sovereignty. Now, I know it might seem a little bit obvious in the way I'm sharing it, but I want to break presence down because I know that presence isn't something that always is understood by a lot of us. In a world that constantly has us reaching for something that is not yet here, or constantly circulating thoughts of what has already happened, presence can feel really distant. I get that. Because presence doesn't feel like it's something that anyone is practicing sometimes when we're watching the world around us. So I want to break down how presence can really cultivate power and peace in our own world. These three pillars are going to allow you to connect to presence in a way that you might not have ever connected to it before, in understanding the true impact that presence has in you having sovereignty and control in your own life. The pause effect is that exactly. I'm so passionate about the pause effect because it is the opportunity that gives you the chance to connect to the present moment. It is the beat. It is the breath. It is the exhale. It is the hug. It is the conversation. Pauses are that opportunity to connect you to yourself, your surroundings, and ultimately to the present moment. So let's get into these 3 presence pillars that are the shining examples of how and why presence creates that impactful moment for you to claim your power and find your peace. So number 1, reality is now. Presence is that act of bringing you into the moment that is now. There are so many moments that happen throughout our days that we miss simply by being in future thinking or past thinking, rather than in the moment that's happening. The present moment, the reality of now, is the only moment that is accessible for us to be a part of, whether that be choosing how we show up, choosing to experience, simply experiencing. But what happens in our lives is that we are caught up in the future and the past, and living there in spaces and time that are not accessible to us in that moment, we keep ourselves cycling through that process of thinking. As we miss moments through our day, we are setting up situations of past regret while also creating future trajectory, a future way I'm going to be next time, rather than creating a moment and time to be with the moment, the one that is accessible to us, the reality. I want to share an example from my own life of a time that I was missing the moment right at hand and losing my own peace and power in that moment. So, in a time when I was in turmoil with a bunch of relationships in my life, I was really processing through, feeling a lot of hurt, sadness, loss, grief, all of these things. And what was happening is that it became a perpetual thought in my mind. It kept me in a state of simultaneous past thinking and future thinking. Past, thinking about what I could have done differently, said differently, acted differently, and future thinking, is there something I can do to mend these relationships? What if I try this? Keeping me in separation from the present moment. Now, how did this impact my life? Well, the people that were still in relationship with me, present with me, sharing time with me, I was not able to be present with them because I was caught up in both future thinking and past thinking. And what did that end up doing to those relationships? It further damaged the relationships of those people that were being present with me. It made them feel like I wasn't present with them and I wasn't in tune or taking into consideration the time and energy that they were sharing with me. And so what happens in this cycle is that I was continuing to feel regret and continuing to think about what I can do differently while keeping me detached and disconnected from everything that was happening in the present moment. So coming from a situation where I had turmoil in some relationships, it was creating turmoil in other relationships just because I was not present with them. So again, first and foremost, reality is now. Take the time to be present in the thing that is accessible to you and experience the life that is at hand. Number 2, be in your body. Presence is a moment for you to actually remember that we are a body below our head. So much of future thinking and past thinking is exactly that. It's thinking. It's using full capacity of the head up and forgetting that we are actually a whole vessel and whole body that are attached to it. When we talk about empowerment and peace, so much of that has to do with being rooted and connected to your body, to being in connection with the mind and body, the emotions and the thinking. All of these bodies need to be connected for us to feel that full connection, to allow ourselves to feel powerful, to allow ourselves to experience peace, right? And so in our world and in our days when we are in future and past thinking, we often forget that we are a body below. We are living in our mind and consumed with all the thoughts ruminating and flowing and cycling. And with that, we lose connection and we lose the ability to be empowered and in peace. A really great example of this is actually coming from my first retreat I hosted. One of our retreaters, without us knowing, had some anxiety around heights, and it only was revealed when we were in the midst of a hike. Now, in that hike, I could see her going into her head. Not sure if she was future thinking or past thinking, but I could see she was losing connection to her body. So with that, I knew that we were about halfway through the hike, and the goal would be to get to the other side. I wanted to complete the hike and wanted her to feel accomplished and that she could do it. So with that, I created some mantras and I held her hand. Simply holding her hand, helping her touch and feel her body, and walked her through the rest of the hike. We continued the hike with repeating mantras, reminding her that she is in her body, she is safe, she is here, and having her both have her hand held by me, touching her, reminding her of her body, while she also was using the rocks alongside her and touching those. The beauty of this is that we were able to get her present enough to regulate her nervous system enough to allow her to override her fear, her anxiety, what lives in your head, to complete the hike, which was a huge accomplishment for her. And with that, the next day, she did opt out of the hike. The secondary day, we had another hike, and she opted out knowing her limits. But the beautiful thing was she was able to conquer a fear simply by bringing herself back into her body and back into the present moment. So again, the second part of this presence is being in your body. The third presence pillar that enlightens us and shows us how we can create power and peace in our own life is reacting versus responding. How many times have you found yourself saying, I wish I didn't say that when they told me this, or I wish I didn't do this when that happened? This is the theme of reacting. Doing something before we're able to actually think it through, and then putting us into past thinking where we're regretting what we did. When we find presence, we are able to respond versus react. Being present and being with the actual moment in the now is an opportunity for us to become a full observer. It allows us to then embrace the act of surrender in a more full way. Perhaps you're not fully there and you don't feel like you can fully let it down, but when you are able to connect to the present moment, you are also able to connect to the observer, the person who is just watching things happen, which is a beautiful way to say surrender. Not trying to change anything, not trying to enforce anything, but simply allowing and observing. When we are in future thinking and in past thinking, we are not able to observe the surrounding from a zoomed out lens. We often are creating expectations or thinking about the regret of what we could have done or said differently. When we take the opportunity to be one with our surroundings and allow things to be as they are, we allow ourselves to also see that we can't control everything, but we do get to control how we respond to situations. Let me give you a really clear example of responding versus reacting from my own life. Years ago, I was on a family trip to South Korea. Our cousin had brought us there. It was really cool to be on a trip with my immediate family and my cousins. And in that journey, one day I was in charge of planning our day. I found a beautiful hike that was very close to a buffet, a vegan buffet that looked phenomenal. So with the number of people we had to go in 2 separate cars. And my cousin took my cell phone for translation purposes. She was in a separate car from me. So as we arrive, we are greeted with this gorgeous national park there in South Korea. I was super calm, super present, just taking it all in. And when my cousin arrived, I asked if she had my cell phone, in which she realized she did not. Now, being in a foreign country and in a world of attachment to our cell phones, most people and most of the time, I think I would have reacted kind of pissed. I would have been pissed that she was negligent of my belongings. I allowed her to have them. Kind of maybe would have started freaking out about how the hell am I going to survive here for another week without my cell phone in a foreign country. But because I was present and because I was like in the beauty of nature and just taking this new country in, I simply realized there was nothing I could do. There was nothing there that I could do nor she could do. And I realized that this was something out of my control. And I said, you know what? It is what it is. When I get back home, I'll figure out my cell phone. This is a version of responding to a situation versus reacting. I was able to see that this was something that I wasn't going to be able to fix, and that's okay. And the best thing that I was present, elated, and at peace with the situation. Now, in the end, the universe had my back. And my cousin that was living there actually called the police station, and they had my cell phone. So shout out to the South Korean folks who are super stand-up, super helpful, super... If this was anywhere else, that cell phone would have been gone for sure. But they turned my cell phone into the police station, and I was able to get it back later that night. So all in all, it was a great karmic response to my responding to the situation. So again, presence is reality is now, experiencing the now. It is being in your body, and it is responding rather than reacting. And these simple pieces of presence are what allow you to feel empowered in your life and feel peace in your life. And so I guess from here we think about, how do I implement these and how do I apply these to my daily days? And I want to let you know, it's not easy. It's a practice. Everything in life is a practice. And if it's foreign for you, it's going to feel really like a practice. It's going to feel like almost a struggle to practice. But I always love to emphasize the power of commitment to self and commitment to the higher thing that you're looking for, and knowing that commitment also takes discipline. And so all you need is a couple simple things in the day to help bring you back to your peace and power. But it's going to take practice and it's going to take discipline. And I really believe that this stuff happens with you first. So it's really powerful to start practicing in the quiet with yourself. And I always say the mornings are the most special time, I believe, because that is the guaranteed time you have before you consume the world around you. It's the time you get to practice being with yourself as early or as late as you wake up, before you open your phone and before you take in technology or talk to someone even. Having silence with yourself or having a journal to just jot down your thoughts. This is a great way to start building presence in your life and really honing in your energy to what it is at the forefront, at the table that you have in front of you, before you have other energy around you. Because then the test comes practicing presence when you're surrounded by other energy, other people, other conversations, other tasks. But the morning is like the most powerful time to practice this. And I also wanted to share that if you're looking for some support in this morning practice, I have a downloadable free guide to help a 5-minute morning reset, help you get started with these present moments in the morning. We're gearing up for a really powerful course starting after Labor Day, September 9th. And this is going to be an opportunity to tap in for 28 days to help build your perfect morning routine, to help build presence in your life that it will empower you and bring peace and ease into your days. So from here on out, I encourage you to continue to practice presence in your life however it feels easy, however it feels accessible, but to know that every time you practice presence in your days and in your weeks and in your months, you are also allowing yourself to feel more empowered. You're allowing yourself to practice more peace and feel more peace. And the more we do things and the more we create those moments, we create habits that form, we create disciplines in our life, and we create more access to this power and peace in our day-to-day life. And that is that. And I want to appreciate and thank everyone for tuning in this season so far. It's been a pleasure to talk to everyone we have and create these moments of presence in conversation, in nature, and in reciprocity of just seeing one another and taking the time to be seen, to be heard, to be felt, and to be listened to thanks to you. So tap in. We have some really cool stuff coming. If you don't know me, hi. I'm Dr. Hava Rose, and I can't wait to continue this journey with you. Don't forget to subscribe, follow the pause effect, and tap in. I'm always a DM away. Ciao for now. Enjoy the rest of your week.